Today, we're diving into the BCG Pymetrics Test. We'll start with a general overview, explain how Pymetrics helps BCG recruit the right people, and then dive deep into each test section. Use the timestamp to jump over your favorite part. The BCG Pymetrics Test is a test before the BCG Casey Chatbot round. This test appears regularly in BCG's United States offices, but it is not popularly used elsewhere. It includes 12 mini-games, which together take about 30 minutes to complete. These games help BCG figure out your social, emotional, and cognitive traits. Basically, they want to see how you think, feel, and react in different situations. So, how does the Pymetrics test help BCG assess candidates? The Pymetrics test is just one part of how BCG looks at candidates. Your results are considered along with other parts of your application, including your education, work experience, and past achievements. The test helps BCG find people who think and act like successful consultants at BCG, even if those people have different experiences and education. The Pymetrics test looks at over 70 traits divided into 9 categories. First, attention, how well you manage information and distractions. Second, effort, how hard you're willing to work depending on the reward and success rate. Third, fairness, how you view fairness in social situations. Fourth, decision-making, how you make choices. Fifth, emotion, how you understand other people's feelings. Sixth, focus, how you concentrate on task. Seventh, generosity, how often you put others' needs before your own. Eighth, learning, how you adjust based on new information. And ninth, risk tolerance, how comfortable you are with taking risk. Those 9 categories are measured by 12 mini-games, easy or hard, Keypresses, stop, arrows, digits memory, towers, money exchange 1, money exchange 2, balloons, cards, lengths, and faces. I categorize the 12 games into 2 groups, games with definitive answers and games with indefinite answers. The games with definitive answers have one option that is clearly better than the others. While that one option doesn't need to be 100% right, choosing that option should give you the best possible rating. A good example is the Faces game. In this game, you will need to guess what a person is feeling based on facial expressions and the given background context. It's a definite game because there are clear right or wrong answers, and you'd want to be as close to being correct as possible. On the other hand, games with indefinite answers don't have clear boundaries of good versus bad answers. However, the more favorable answers lie somewhere in the middle, and you have to find the right balance. For example, in the 2 money exchange games, you need to make some transactions and judge its fairness. You can only know that it's bad to be either too greedy or too generous, and that there should be an ideal middle ground. However, just where that middle ground lies is impossible to know. With the above information, I suggest you focus on practicing the games with definitive answers, as they have clear indications and measurable results for you to look at. Those games are Keypresses, digits memory, easy or hard, stop, arrows, towers, and faces games. In the easy or hard and Keypresses games, one measurable skill is your tapping speed on the keyboard. In Keypresses, stop, and arrows games, your reflexes are tested, measuring how accurately and quickly you can respond. In digits memory, the focus is on your memory, gauging how many numbers you can recall. In towers, your ability is measured by the number of moves you use to complete the game. The Faces game tests your ability to detect and interpret the emotions of others. This game assesses how well you understand others' emotions by reading facial expressions and using context clues. With these in mind, let's dive deeper into these definitive games. First, we will talk about the easy or hard game. In this game, you get to choose between doing an easy task or a hard task. For easy task, you tap the spacebar 5 times in 3 seconds to earn $1. For hard task, you tap the spacebar 50 times in 12 seconds to earn between $1.24 and $4.30. The catch is that the chance of getting the reward changes, ranging from 10% to 90%. You'll keep choosing and completing tasks for 2 minutes to make as much money as possible. The tested traits in this game are effort and risk tolerance. Specifically, it is about finding the right balance between effort and reward, and showing that you can take risks wisely, just like a good consultant would. For this game, you can use the 80-20 rule. This means putting in just enough effort to get the best results. Don't push too hard if the reward isn't worth it. Choose the hard task only when the reward is high, and the chance of getting it is also high, like $3 with a 70% chance. Otherwise, stick with the easy task and wait for a better opportunity. Next, in the Keypress game, you have to tap the spacebar as fast as you can until you're told to stop. The tested trait in this game is attention. The goal is to tap the spacebar as quickly as possible, but it's also important to stop tapping right when told to. This shows you can focus and respond quickly when needed. If you keep tapping after the stop signal, it shows you might be too impulsive and not paying enough attention. On the other hand, if you tap too slowly to avoid messing up, it might seem like you're too cautious. Third, in the stop game, you'll see a circle flash on the screen either in green or red. If the circle is green, press the spacebar. If the circle is red, stay still. Do not press anything. You'll do this 15 to 20 times, trying to get it right each time. The tested trait in this game is focus. This game tests your ability to focus on more than one thing at a time. You need to pay attention to both the timing of when the circles appear and the color of each circle to make the correct response. In Arrow's game, your task is to press the correct arrow key based on the color. You'll see a line of arrows flash on the screen, pointing either left or right. The arrows will be colored red, blue, or black. If the arrows are blue or black, press the arrow key that matches the direction the arrows are pointing. For example, if the arrows point right, press the right arrow key. If the arrows are red, press the arrow key in the opposite direction. For example, if the arrows point right, press the left arrow key. You'll do this 15 to 20 times. The tested trait in this game is focus. The key here is to keep your focus steady and handle multiple things at once, which is useful when juggling different tasks or information in any situation. In the digits memory game, you'll see a series of numbers flash on the screen one at a time. You must memorize the sequence and write it down after it's finished. Each time you get the sequence right, the next one will be longer by one digit. The game continues until you make 3 mistakes. The tested trait in this game is attention. This game tests how much you can focus and remember details. Small tricks: you can write the numbers in a notebook to help you remember. However, be careful. If you spend too much time writing, you might miss the next digit. If your PC has a numpad and you are familiar with it, you can try using it to note the numbers. Open Notepad on your Windows PC, use Apple Notes if you use Mac OS, and put it in a corner of the screen. Then, you can quickly note the number down without looking at anything other than the screen itself. In the Towers game, you'll see 3 towers made of stacked colored discs. Your goal is to move the discs around until your towers match the target tower shown at the top of the screen. You can only move 1 disc at a time. The fewer moves you use, the better. You have 2 minutes to complete the task. The tested trait in this game is decision-making. This game tests how well you can plan and make decisions. Instead of just moving the discs randomly, take a moment to think about the best way to arrange them. You can jot down a quick note to map out your moves. The more you plan, the fewer moves you'll need. This shows that you can make decisions in a structured way. Finally, the last game with definitive answers is the Faces game. Your task is to choose 1 of 10 emotions that fit the person's feelings in the image. You'll see an image of a person's face. Sometimes a paragraph will give you background information about what's happening in the picture. The tested trait in this game is emotion. This game checks whether you rely on facial expressions to figure out emotions or if you can pay attention to the context. If there's information provided, use it to help you make a more accurate guess about what the person is feeling. Consultants base their decisions on facts and information. Next, we will explore the other 5 games with indefinite answers. Those are the 2 money exchange games and the balloons, cards, and lengths games. The results in those games are harder to measure, so they are harder to practice. However, understanding their logic beforehand can help you improve your performance. Both money exchange games focus on assessing your sense of fairness. However, they do so in different ways. One game tests your risk tolerance and fairness by seeing how much you're willing to share under uncertain conditions. The other game evaluates your generosity by looking at how you share the money. The balloons and cards games are primarily about testing your risk tolerance. The lengths game is designed to assess your learning and motivation. It checks how quickly you can adapt and improve based on feedback and how motivated you are to perform well, whether driven by internal satisfaction or external rewards. With that in mind, let's dive deeper into those indefinite games. In the Money Exchange 1 game, you start with $10. You can give some, all, or none of the money to another person. Whatever amount you give, that person will receive triple the amount. For example, if you give them $2, that person will get $6. After that, that person can give you back some, all, or none of that money. Once the transaction is complete, you will rate how fair you think the exchange was on a scale of 1 to 10. I see this as similar to when you lend a person some money. That person invests in a project with that money and makes a large profit. However, that person can return you some money or not return any at all, and you will judge whether that's fair. The tested traits in this game are risk tolerance and fairness. For risk tolerance, this game tests how much risk you're willing to take. A good strategy is to show low risk tolerance by giving a small amount of your money, like $2 to $3. Consultants are usually careful and don't like to take big risks. But remember, being too cautious can also be seen as a weakness. For fairness, it is wise to rate the transaction fair if the amount you get back is close to or even more than what you gave. This shows that you value fairness and understand how to judge situations in a balanced way. Meanwhile, in the Money Exchange 2 game, both you and a partner start with $5 each. Then, one of you randomly gets an extra $5. You can then give some, all, or none of your money to your partner, or even take money from them. After that, you'll rate how fair the transaction was. I see this as similar to when you and a colleague take on two different tasks and have different amounts of resources. Regardless of whether you receive more or less, you will declare how much resources should be allocated to each of you. The tested traits in this game are generosity and fairness. For generosity, it's a good idea to be somewhat generous in this game. If you're too stingy, it might look like you're not willing to work well with others, which could be seen as a negative trait. For fairness, when asked if the transaction was fair, think about what you would consider fair if you were in the other person's shoes. Showing that you can be fair and considerate is important, especially in consulting, where teamwork and fairness are highly valued. Next, in the balloons game, you'll have a balloon. You can either sell it immediately for a small profit or keep pumping it up to earn more money when selling. But be careful. The bigger the balloon gets, the more likely it is to pop. If it pops, you lose all the money for that balloon. You will repeat this process with 39 balloons to make as much money as possible. The tested trait in this game is risk tolerance. For this game, we recommend you to be cautious. Similar to the Money Exchange 1 game, you should show low risk tolerance. And of course, being too cautious can also be seen as a weakness. Another important thing here is consistency. If you panic after the ball pops and just sell the remaining balls at tiny size for little money or pump the ball much bigger right after a decent one, it will be considered bad by a consultant standard. So you can try taking some calculated risks like this. For the first few balloons, you can try pumping a lot to see how big the balloon can get before it's likely to pop. This helps you figure out the danger zone. Play it safe with the remaining balloons once you understand this. In the cards game, you'll draw cards from 4 decks. Each time you draw a card, you gain or lose a random amount of money. You can draw from any deck and switch between decks whenever you want. You will draw about 30 to 40 cards. The tested traits in this game are decision-making and risk tolerance. You can use the 5-card draw process for this game, which is similar to the hypothesis testing method used by consultants. First, test the 4 decks by drawing 5 cards from each deck and recording each deck's net gains. After that, draw 5 more cards from the deck, yielding the most money. Check if these 5 new cards still yield more money than the second most money deck in the initial test. If it gets lower, you can move on to the second most money deck and repeat the 5-card draw process. Finally, in the lengths game, you'll see a face flash on the screen with either a big or small mouth. The difference between the big and small mouth is subtle, so you must pay close attention. Your job is to tap the right arrow key if the mouth is big, and the left arrow key if the mouth is small. If you get it right, you have a chance to earn a small amount of money. You'll repeat this task 15 to 20 times. The tested trait in this game is learning. This game tests if you can learn quickly and balance your motivation between accuracy and rewards. The best approach is to tap the correct key without spending too much time analyzing the faces. This will show that you care about getting it right and can work efficiently without getting stuck on tiny details. The ideal consultant is motivated by doing a good job and getting results at the same time. After going through the mini games, you might wonder if the Pymetrics test really shows who you are and whether it's okay to game the system, that is, play in a way that makes you look good to the company. First, let's talk about accuracy. Well, like any test, it's not perfect, but it does give a pretty good idea of your natural tendencies. Most of these tests focus on the results of the mini games you play. While there might be some monitoring of how you play, it's not a big deal. This means you could try to play in a way you think that shows the traits BCG is looking for. Now, should you do that? Some think it's okay to game the system a little. After all, consultants think in a structured way and constantly break down problems into smaller parts. If you can show that kind of thinking during the test, it might help you. And here's the important part. Many traits can only improve with practice, like learning, attention, understanding emotions, etc. You cannot be delusive like, I will become my ultimate self in the test, without constantly improving long before that. If you take any Pymetrics test in under 330 days before your BCG Pymetrics test date, you should inform the BCG beforehand. The Pymetrics test BCG uses isn't just for them. As the firm Pymetrics created this test, many other businesses use the same test to help them find the right people to hire. Pymetrics keeps the results of this test for 330 days, during which the candidate cannot retake the test, and results will be used for any application to Pymetrics partners, such as PwC, JP Morgan, etc. And there you have it. An introduction to the BCG Pymetrics test. Remember, it's all about showing you can think and act like a BCG consultant. Don't forget to subscribe for more tips on how to succeed in your career journey. Good luck with your Pymetrics test.